right, welcome back, everybody, to another show of Flyway Connections. My name is Chris, and like always, I'm here with my buddy Joe. Joe.
Hey, how you guys doing this afternoon? Hey, today we have a special guest of Captain Jeff Coates from PitBoss Waterfowl. Hey, how you doing there, Jeff?
Guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. Like always, first off, I want to thank you for being on the show and spending a little time with us, little folks out here. But so I want to go ahead and first, I want to get into the Cork versus wood decoys, and the only reason I want to get into that because I find it, for me, very intriguing as far as waterfowlers, or even the older generation waterfowlers who grew up making their old decoys. I think it's a lost art, or even it's becoming a lost art. And that's something I think tradition, I think we really need to get a grasp on. But as far as wood and cork decoys, what is the significant difference between the two?
Well, on the Upper Chesapeake Bay, I was born in Havre de Grace, the decoy capital of the world. And on the Upper Bay, back in the the turn of the 20th century, early 1900s, wooden decoys is what there was. There really wasn't cork available, and wood was the way the market gunners, sink boxes, bushwhacking with the canvas backs. A lot of canvas backs were made out of wood, so that was really kind of the only material that they had availability to. So traditionally, wood decoys, wood body decoys. I make wood hollow cedar, northern white cedar birds, as well as tan high density cork. Wood just holds up, especially with my sea duck hunting. The wood holds up much better, and it's more forgiving when it gets shot versus cork. Cork is tree bark. It's oak trees. They have these from Portugal. They have these orchards, if you will, of cork trees, and they actually go and strip the bark off the trees, and it's ground up, and that's how cork is made. Back in the day, when I first started making decoys right in Wilmington, Delaware, Marty Wiley, he actually brought in the raw material, ground it up, and kind of like the old Play-Doh extruder kind of thing. Made cork sheets. And his binder, his cork did not absorb water. Unfortunately, time went through. They went out of business, and so now basically the cork that we get today is imported from Portugal, and it does absorb water. So one of the ways I kind of to combat that a little bit is I will use a bottom board, and I will hollow out the underside of the cork decoy, and I glue the bottom board on. So my thinking is if the cork does get wet, there's not as much cork in volume there to absorb the water. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
So which one's your favorite to actually work with, wood or I guess when it comes to manipulating the design of your decoys, whether it be whatever type of diver duck or sea ducks that you're trying to manipulate?
Yeah, to me, cork is much easier just because it's a softer, generally it's a softer material. But man, if you get a nice piece of northern white cedar that is super dry, I mean, it's a pleasure to carve too. So, as a matter of fact, I've got a truckload of northern white cedar. I'm hauling it back today. Cedar is just difficult. Northern white cedar is difficult in the mid-Atlantic states here we're at to find. So you've got to get it. But the best place really is from Maine. Over the years, that's Maine or up the Upper PI, Michigan. But to answer your question, I think cork, especially for somebody that's just starting out, I think cork is easier to carve.
Okay, and that's something I definitely want to get start doing myself. Just because, like I said, it's just I think it's a lost art. We talked to Dale from Bayou Beast and a couple of older waterfowlers, and they said they could remember, making their own decoys. And I mean, I could tell you honestly, like talking to the younger generations, I don't think they know how to make their own decoys. Everybody's buying it. Nothing wrong with buying your decoys, but I think that's something that traditionally it's something that I think needs to stay with the waterfowl community.
Yeah, I mean, especially on social media these days and Instagram. Most recently, I've been posting up a lot of stuff I've been carving, and I do get a lot of questions from people that are wanting to start to carve, how to carve. Lots of questions of what tools do they need, what materials, those type of things. And man, in the last couple of weeks here on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jeff Coates, COATS, or PitBoss, PITBOSS waterfowl. I put up 3 videos yesterday. So a lot of it's just me sitting there. You can kind of see stuff from start to finish, or if there's a certain certain technique or something I'm trying to capture to get out there. But I put up videos all the time if you want to check them out.
Yeah, I definitely check them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've checked your videos out and watching you over the past couple of years, especially with the big sea ducking. Did you grow up hunting in Maryland, or was it something you picked up later in life?
Well, again, I was born in Havre de Grace, Maryland. It's the kind of the self-proclaimed decoy capital of the world. So I was definitely aware of it. But no, I didn't. The first thing I ever hunted was turkeys. So I turkey hunted really before I waterfowl hunted. So kind of more, I guess it would have been in the late 80s was my first. I'm a little bit older, but in the late 80s, I guess I started probably when I was like 20, 23 maybe. So it definitely wasn't something that I was, in my younger years there, preteen or teenage years that I did. But something I've really enjoyed, very passionate about. I just even today with guiding, I mean, I'm not shooting as much because it's about, if I have you on the boat, it's about you shooting, not me. So I've kind of switched over to taking a lot of pictures, and more recently I try to video everything.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to guide for the sea ducks or the divers?
What was is it harder? Is that was the question? I'm sorry.
No, what's your favorite thing to guide? When you're taking on clients, is your favorite thing to target sea ducks or diving ducks?
More sea ducks. Sea ducks was the. I mean, I was so fortunate way back in the day. He taught me a lot about the internet. In its infancy, as far as I guess I met Donald Hughes in 1994, and there really weren't talk forums, there wasn't social media, and it was just kind of right in the beginning there. And he taught me. He's like, hey man, this is the internet. You need to learn how to do it. I was big into taking pictures then, and you just didn't have you didn't have a little icon button that you hit and to put a picture up, and I was still shooting on film. So like fast turnaround on film, you paid extra for 2 days, 2-day turnaround. It's not like you went to Walmart and they developed it instantly kind of thing for you.
Yeah.
So kind of slowly got into I'd get my pictures, have to get them developed, then you had to scan them, and then you had to go upload them somewhere to a server that they had an address, and then you had to know some HTML code to be able to put that picture up in a forum or online. Again, there weren't. It's not like it is today where you just hit the little button or icon for a photo and you put the photo in there. So Donald Hughes was very instrumental. He said he was full of useless knowledge that I loved anything he had to say. So really he had 2 daughters, and his wife said I was like the son he didn't have kind of thing, and so we just keep it off and formed a really nice relationship. Sadly, in 2004 he did pass away, so I had a good 10 years of Donald Hughes. But I'm rambling a little bit, but he dialed me into the internet, and he also dialed me into sea ducks. But the sea duck season was 107 days long, not 30, 45, or 60 days like the regular duck season. 107 days, basically. It was always open. We don't hunt Sundays in Maryland, but it was always open. And I really thought at the beginning of my guiding that like canvasbacks was going to be the big thing. And Donald was like, no, man, it's sea ducks. I even charged less at the time, less for my sea duck hunts than I did the diver duck hunts, because I didn't think that many people really wanted to sea duck hunt. And I quickly learned that he was correct, man. There was like a high demand for the sea duck hunt than diving ducks. So that's kind of how I just found my little niche. And this will be my 20th year full time. And it's really, I think it's one of those kind of things where when people say they were at the right place at the right time, like things just kind of lined up, nicely for me. Not that I haven't put a lot of effort into to do what I do, but at the same time, like I think that the timing of meeting Donald and just the way things were, back in the day, I started in a 17-foot TB. It was, I think they had made two 21-foot boats, but that was like the only quote duck boat out there. Today I'm in the world's largest duck boat, the 32-foot duck water. So, things have just evolved. And again, like it was kind of being maybe at the right place at the right time for me. Yeah. So, Dan, I really take advantage more of the sea ducks than the diving duck. Not that I don't have people ask me about diving ducks, but sea ducks that's the trophy bird for quite a few people, and it's the kind of thing where literally, it's that I do have off days, but generally, typically, I mean, it's a six days a week. And that doesn't really matter whether it's hot or cold. The scoter migrate on the calendar, so. End of October, it could be 85 degrees. Well, I might exaggerate there a little bit. It could be upper 70s into the 80s, late October. And man, the scoter, they're flying down. The peak migration for seeing scoter heading south would be Halloween. I've always thought that last week of October, first week of November was always like. So yeah, I definitely. I just kind of gravitated to the sea ducks. And at the beginning there, like nobody else was really doing that either.
Yeah.
So, today things have changed quite a bit. But yeah, it was just kind of niche little things. Guys on the Chesapeake Bay that were guiding sea ducks, they would have you on a 40-foot white crabbing boat or oyster boat. And that's the way they sea duck hunted. And the shots were long. They had decoys out and stuff, but I mean, you're sitting in a big white boat, and the shots were long. They tell you to bring a case of shells because you shot a lot because they didn't. It was like a lot of pass shooting. They didn't decoy that well.
Yeah.
And especially being in that 17 TDB, man. I mean, they were like right in your face. So.
Yeah.
What's the most popular sea duck that your clients want to shoot?
It's so here's something that as I've gotten older, I've really learned that everything is relative. If like I see surf scoter all the time, so not that it's not a big deal, but it's something very common to me. Whereas somebody from Kansas has never seen a surf scoter, so a surf scoter's high on their list. But you've got in the sea duck, in the Atlantic flyway sea ducks, you've got scoter. There's three types of scoter. You got the surf scoter. You've got the common scoter, which I often refer to them as a black scoter, has just a little bit of yellow bill, a little bit on the yellow on his bill. And then there's a bigger one, white wing scoter. And then you'll have old squall, or I call them old squall still, the long-tailed duck. And then you'll have the common eider. We do see a few king eider on the East Coast. And we also have harlequin on the East Coast. The harlequin season is closed on the East Coast. So, yeah, it's just to answer your question again, like it just depends on what guys have shot and what their, what is their next bird to shoot kind of thing. I get a lot of like guys want to get birds mounted, the whether hunt 41 or whatever number you say is out there. I have a lot of guys that are, they want to check birds off their list. They don't need to shoot a limit of them. They don't need to shoot a limit. They just want to be able to say they shot a bird, at least one of those, whatever they're looking for.
What's your personal favorite sea duck to hunt?
Out of the scoter, I would say my favorite really, even though that the surf scoter is my logo, I'd say probably the common scoter. I think they're just a really neat, basically all the scoter are, they are black, but there's a lot of variation of the black. There's some iridescence in them, and they're just, everybody says, just a black bird, and then they shoot them for the first time, and they're like, wow, there's a lot going on there when you hold them up in the sun. Yeah. But I guess I don't shoot if I was going to go for a sea duck hunt, again, things being relative, we don't have a lot of common eider here or king eider. So, that an eider trip would be probably, for me personally, what I do. That said, last year we were very fortunate that we did, and here in Maryland, we did see quite a few eider, and actually shot two. They were this year's Drake, but we did shoot two Drake king eiders this year.
No, nice.
So So they are on the East Coast. We do, and again, we do have. We'll see a couple of Harlequins here and there. You really got to go West Coast to shoot a Harlequin, just legally to shoot a Harlequin on the West Coast.
So as far as Jeff, so as far as sea ducks, so I will say one thing we do get in this podcast, we get a lot of new waterfowlers in the waterfowl community. And I think what I try to do is I try to educate as much as we can, just so that nobody's lost or nobody has, I guess nobody, when they go out there, that they can kind of have a grasp and idea of what they're doing. So when it comes to diver ducks and sea ducks, what is like the significant difference between the two? Is there something that like maybe separates the two? I don't know.
That's a great question. Generally, sea ducks, you'll find them on salt water, but the Great Lakes, fresh water, Great Lakes do have, they do have a good population of sea ducks. The biggest difference between a sea duck and a diving duck is when a canvasback, redhead, bluebill, bufflehead dive, they're just using their feet underwater. When a sea duck dives, they use their feet and they also use their wings. So that is the biggest, in my opinion, that's the biggest difference between diving ducks and sea ducks. Mm-hmm. Sea ducks use their wings also underwater. And Old Squall, there's the 1-800-327 band number is right here in Patuxent, Maryland. And they have a dive tank. They have a captive colony of sea ducks that they're studying, and they have a dive tank that it's incredible to see. Like a canvasback actually pumps and works to go 10 feet deep. Like I won't say they struggle, but it's not easy for them. Or it doesn't appear to be easy for them. You put an Old Squall in there, and they're like penguins, man. They're like just like they're almost playing. They're just so agile underwater, and again they're using their legs and their wings.
Oh wow. That's crazy. I honestly had no idea. So how's the eating as far as like sea ducks? I've ate diver ducks. As far as sea ducks, I mean, is it good eating or is this something that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say the meat itself. Their blood is very high in iron, so you really got to soak them out. Get the fat off of them and soak them out. And generally, typically, most people that I have in the boat or is going to come hunt with me, they've shot a bluebill here or there, and I would tell you that basically, if you'd eat a bluebill, a redhead, canvasback, how about a bluebill and a redhead? The Scoter's right there with them. They're all eating the same, especially in Chesapeake Bay. They're all eating basically clams and mussels,
mm-hmm.
And they're just the Scoter are just higher in iron in their blood.
Oh wow!
So they're blood rich. They're blood rich. You just got to soak them out, and once you soak them out, they're a very edible duck. Everybody makes jokes and has all kinds of negative things to say about them, but now an Old Squall on the other hand, they do eat fish, and there is I've breasted some Old Squall out that as soon as you open them up, man, they're funky to begin with.
Yeah.
But generally typically Scoter are again, if you prepare them correctly and take the time to soak them out. The other thing is if you breast them out, don't freeze them dry in a Ziploc. I put them in a Ziploc and at least put some water in there, so when you freeze it, that the meat is not going to get has a chance to get air.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I gotta try that. Actually, then the reason I was asking is because this season I'm actually gonna do some hunting down in the Gulf, so I didn't know what the difference was in the diver and the sea duck. So I'm gonna have get my feet wet down there and try it out. So
nice.
Yeah. So, and then when it comes to there was another thing too, because I'm actually curious, the gear, because I know saltwater can be unforgiving. How when you're looking for gear, what is something you're looking for the gear? Does it even matter when it comes to your gear? Like you buying just basically whatever everybody else is buying as far as their pit blind, their bags or their decoys and stuff like that. Is there anything specific that you're looking for because you're in the saltwater, or is that just something that I guess it's just a myth or something?
No, I think that the biggest thing with when you gun saltwater, and I tell the guys this, they kind of laugh at me, but like, first of all, everybody brings a gun case, a soft-sided case, and I say, they're going to hand it to me, and either I don't say it to them then, but as the morning goes on, I just ask everybody, it's like, hey, and some guys don't. They just hand me the gun. I said, for the guys that hand me the gun case, like, how often do you wash the gun cases out? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, how often do you wash your cases out? He says, we don't. Or, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, think about this. I said, this is the Atlantic Ocean. You're sitting in salt water. Your gun has salt on it. You're going to put that gun back in that case. And what are you taking home to Michigan with you? You're taking Atlantic salt with you. So my point in that is that as soon as I tell them, as soon as they get back, they should take in the bathtub at a hotel, man, rinse your guns off in fresh water. Benelli rep years ago told me, I asked him, like, what's the best oil? What's the best oil? He's like, the element, you have to get the element of salt off of your gun because you have to wash, need water to do that. So he said, if you just put the oil on metal that has salt on it, and his opinion was the element of salt is still there. So he kind of ingrained me, fresh water. So that said, like with your gear, like the biggest thing I have is that like zippers and things, if I don't occasionally, with fresh water, my gear down, like tax salt water seems to mess with zippers. And obviously anything metal, salt water is going to oxidize it. So I don't know that there's any particular, there's not something I look for over one brand over another or any type of material over another, but just I'm in the mode of, you do need to use fresh water on things.
Okay. So just rinsing your stuff off occasionally and the longevity will be there. Okay. And that's what I assumed. I just didn't know if there was like some hidden secret that the saltwater waterfowl community actually does. So
yeah, my secret would be is to again use a lot of fresh water.
Rinse it out.
Yeah. So when you're using those decoys, how big are usually your spreads when you're hunting for those sea ducks?
Yeah, it's become, especially with guiding. I know that I've seen people like set scoter decoys all around them, and I've never really had that mindset. I like almost think that sometimes less is more, and it's less is more in the sense of with guiding, I want everybody shooting in the same direction. So I don't go overboard with the decoys. Now the size is I may go overboard on the size of the decoy, but maybe not the numbers because I want to. Yeah. I want to be able. I never want to have a decoy out too far that if you couldn't make the shot if a bird lands with it. So I generally try to keep the the size big, the numbers down so that the spread isn't too big that we can't cover. When I say cover, that you won't be able to make that shot if a bird lands. You give the bird an opportunity to land at 50 yards. They will land at, if you put a decoy at 50 yards, quite often you'll have them that they land at 50 yards. So I try to have them closer than farther. But I'm not a big numbers guy. It's just more of the size of the decoys. It's about visibility.
Yeah, visibility. Yeah. Do you use a lot of motion type decoys or flags when you're hunting those in that open water like that?
Yeah. I don't put the blind up on the boat to make, I think there's nothing out there. So I think if you want to put a blind up, even the birds can see us, you put the blind up, it makes them even bigger. So it's kind of funny. Like I'll see some birds coming and quite often, like everybody's like kind of gets down, like they're trying to hide. And I stand up as tall as I can, waving a big old black flag. So it's kind of funny that, just the natural instinct when birds come, like, guys want to get down and, kind of be still and the birds are really keying off, from a distance, they key off that black flag movement for sure.
Yeah. And then when it comes to shotguns or, when you have clients bringing like, gear and stuff, what shotgun shell or shot size do you tell them to bring?
I'm more about the pattern. So I like smaller size shot on a decoying bird. I'm not talking about pass shooting. I'm talking about stuff that is birds that are decoying nice for you. I think it's about having a smaller shot has a better pattern, in my opinion, versus the heavier shot that you can say has more energy, but it doesn't pattern as well. Like you want 92 chances or 214 chances. Do an ounce and 8 load and tell me what how many BBs are, how many number 2 size shot, and how many number 4 there is. And to me, it's about having a better pattern. The more that you're putting out there.
So what's
that's generally what I say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me now.
No, go ahead.
So generally what I say is that's what I'll say, and then I say but if you think you need to shoot BBs, won't let me. I don't want them to show up and say they're missing birds or because they're thinking it's because I listen to them. I will say this. I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but whether you shoot a 10-cent shell or a $10 shell, if you're 2 feet behind, you're 2 feet behind. So it doesn't really matter what shell you're shooting. If you can't lead and you're shooting behind the birds, it doesn't matter what you're throwing out there at them because you're 2 feet behind them.
And what's your shotgun setup look like? Do you use an aftermarket choke? What kind of shells do you typically use? And then as far as shotgun, if you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all. I got the old school original Pattern Master. But it's extended to like 3/4 of an inch, whatever, maybe an inch. And it's ported, and I even have an old Franke over and under that I actually have 2 of those in it. So that was the choke that I like. Guns have kind of rotated through over the years. This year I think I want to try shooting a 20 gauge, the Super Black Eagle 3. I think that's what
nice.
Last year I was shooting a Beretta 400. So
okay,
I just
nice.
I do jump around. But shot size, the Federal makes out of their Speed Shock line for Molly's Place Outdoors, located in Kennedyville, Maryland, on the Upper Eastern Shore. They came out with a Sea-Duck load that it's the old school like duplex loads. The first one is BBs and 2s, and then the second one is 4s and 6s. And I like the 4s and 6s.
Really?
Again, on a decoying bird. The other thing is the other advantage to this is if you are you want to get stuff mounted, small size shot does not tear up your bird. My very first common hider that I shot was stone dead and didn't have a drop of blood on it. It was perfect, and I shot number 6 at it.
Yeah.
But again, they're decoying. I mean, they're coming right at you. So
yeah.
It's not, it's again. I know over the years I've listened to all kinds of stuff about shot sizes and density and patterns and on and on and on. But again, I think I'm about small shot and a good pattern on a decoying bird.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one thing too, as far as so me personally, I would rather decoy or Joe decoy the birds and then shoot them off the water than Sky popping them. I know we had a couple that I had lost because of that. So, but I think another thing, as far as shots and stuff, I know this past season, I mean, there is some shots that you don't want to shoot at some of these birds because, like you said, you can't mount them. I know Joe destroyed a bird. What was it? You had
I was using a long range Pattern Master Anaconda with I think I was using number 5 Boss shot shell.
Yeah. And it was a nice shot, and we saw the bird. I mean, we couldn't even salvage no meat off of it. I mean, I guess we could, but it was insane. So I'm definitely with you on as far as getting them decoyed and then your shot being right behind them. So
yeah, I mean the other thing too that quite often with sea ducks, you've got wounded birds, you got to ride around and get them, and guys that are shooting bigger, especially we can shoot sea ducks legally under power when they're crippled.
Yeah,
wounded birds. So but guys that are shooting big shot, I mean when they hit the water, it doesn't. It doesn't look like it looks like they have 20 pellets in that shell, versus smaller shot is really it's much more effective.
Yeah. I know you're on your social media. I see you have some award-winning dogs and all that. Do you use them a lot when you're sea duck hunting?
Well, man, back in the day, when I say back in the day, through the 2002, probably 2002 to about 13, something like that, I was never without a dog. And Coot and Diamond, two black females I had. I mean, they retrieved everything. Let them kind of, as long as birds were dead, I mean, they would swim forever to get them. There was no issues. They were very well trained. Coot was a master hunter. She was qualified all agent field trials. So, I mean, they were a pleasure to have on board, and kind of cycled through them. And I bred her twice, and I kept 2 dogs. And I kept a male and Booger. And one day he's in the water, and there's this real dark thing in the water. And my boat at the time was 25 feet long, and that tiger shark was half the length of my boat easily. So,
Yeah.
It's over the years, it's probably, it probably really was 11 or 12 feet. And it's probably, I think I've said 13 or 14 feet at the same time. But my point is, this thing was big.
Yeah.
And it kind of cured me from using a dog with sea ducks. So I still use them brant hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Brant, still in salt water, but very shallow. But
Yeah.
sea ducks I've just kind of cycled through of like, man, I can't imagine, seeing your dog get hit by a shark,
Yeah, we had the same problem here in Louisiana. I'm down here in Louisiana with gators and dogs, especially during the early teal season. Yeah, originally I'm from Northern California, and I used to hunt the rice fields and the coast out there by the Bay Area for all the diver ducks and stuff like that. But you said something that always intrigued me: the brant hunting. So you do guide for the brants?
Yeah. So after that 60-day sea duck season's over, like it closes, let's say it closes January 8th this year. So in the Atlantic Flyway, we have for duck season, we have the availability of a 30-day season, a 45-day season, or a 60-day season.
Mm-hmm.
We've been very fortunate, maybe over the last 18, 20 years, it's been 60 days. So it's broke up. We have like a week in October, 2 weeks in November, and then mid-December to the end of January. So, and basically kind of brant is those last 2 splits, brant kind of follows that duck season. So where I'm trying to go with this is from January 9th to January 31st, brant season is open. So I will shift gears and do brant.
Do you
nice little saltwater goose. Kind of represents the body color and head color is very similar, much smaller. Like it'd be a very big mallard.
Yeah.
Would be the size of a brant. And instead of having the big white patch on their head, they kind of have some white markings, like a collar kind of thing, on their neck. That's where their white is. So their head's totally black. They've got a little bit of white on their neck, and but they basically look like a Canada goose.
Now with those brants, decoying, calling, stuff like that, how do they differ from hunting like a Canada goose?
1 second, I'm sorry, guys.
No problem.
There we go. Sorry, I had to, my seatbelt was dinging. I had to put her back on there.
All right.
I got that loaded cedar before I got on the main highway. I popped out back just to make sure everything was looking good. I'm sorry. So decoys, I like to use full bodies, and I also use something called a V board, where basically it's a way that you can take a silhouette and they're on a set of arms, and you put 3, the arms kind of open up. Some people call them Y boards, but traditionally on the upper bay, they're called V boards, and you're able to float 3 silhouettes. And these things, man, they show up forever. So I use a combination of the V boards and the full bodies. Calling, they make a little chirpy, kind of a chirpy sound. You could almost kind of reproduce it if you think of like a turkey box call. Some of the old brant calls are actually kind of that same style where they're a box.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get, if you take a short reed goose call and kind of like kind of twirl your tongue through it, kind of grunt into it. That's kind of the kind of give you that sound of what brant make. They're very vocal. And they kind of like sea ducks and scoter, man. Like generally they go out of their way to decoy. So
so they're also another real visual bird.
Say again. I'm sorry.
They like to decoy to the visual then.
Yes. Yeah. They're and again, like the especially if we got one sails off, we go pick it up. You get 400 yards away from the blind. You get out there a little ways, and like the full bodies disappear, but man, the V boards just show up like they're not orange, but I mean like they're bright orange. Like they just on the water, a brand is very black and white. They have big white rumps, and that white, when you get away, especially on the V boards, man, that white just shows up forever.
Nice. And what shot size do you use for those? Like, I know some people use 2s and 1s or BBs for the geese, but you're saying you're kind of a smaller goose. So when you have clients, what do you recommend for them to bring for those?
Again, man, I would say so. Here, this will be my. I love small shots so much.
Yeah.
Before you could really get heavy shot in all the forms that you can get it today with Donald Hughes that I brought up earlier, we would reload it, and I actually would reload 3-inch shells that were 7.5 shot for brand, specifically for brand. They're a smaller bird. I like small shot. You don't need big shot with brand.
Yeah, nice. So man, Brant, that sounds crazy. I need to go down there and try to get some myself. Joe, did you have anything else? Yo, go ahead.
You got the East Coast version. Would be called the Atlantic brand, and then you got a West Coast brand, the Pacific brand. They call them Black brand. They're a little bit darker. Their white collar is different. Anyway, there's like East Coast and West Coast, a little bit difference in them.
Yeah. For me, like, so I know you run a big guide service, but the average Joe that just wants to go out and shoot a couple brand or shoot some of the sea ducks, what are the 5 things that you think they would have to gear wise need to actually be a successful small time just an average Joe on a weekend to kill some brant or sea ducks?
Well, specific with brant, although I say they look like a Canada goose, they don't decoy well to Canada goose decoys. So you got to get that white off. That's, in my opinion, you got to get the white off the cheek of the Canada goose. So whether I've had guys tell me they'll buy black socks and put the black socks over, basically over the head kind of thing. But I think brant decoy to brant decoys, and the same thing with Scoter. I mean, especially we see the most Scoter. I mean, we do see old squall too, but day in and day out, I probably see more Scoter than anything. And you do need black decoys. You need Scoter decoys. You need old mallard decoys that you paint them black. But you need black decoys. You can't go out there with. I had friends that used to try to do it with a bluebill rig, and like they just, they would shoot some, but they just don't decoy well. So having the right decoys, to me, really for the brant do respond well to calling. Both Scoter and brant respond to flagging. So I think a flag is something that's very important. And more of with trying to practice, shooting. It's just hard to reproduce. You can go shoot all the clay targets you want, but like you're standing on solid ground, right? It's very rare that the boat that you're going to be gunning from is not moving. So it's just there's something about shooting from a moving boat. Had some guys kind of do a spoofy video where they strapped a John boat to a front end loader, and somebody sat in somebody threw targets for him. The other guy somebody's in the boat. The other guy ran the front end loader. He was like going up and down with it as the guy was trying to shoot. So kind of,
yeah,
but I mean, that's the truth. I mean, like, it's hard to, like, how can you go, again, you can shoot all the clay targets you want, but how do you do it that you're on a moving platform? That's the biggest problem, I think, with sea duck hunting. And it's kind of the difference of that reaction shot where somebody's not thinking about it and they just, something comes around the corner and boom, they roll it out dead. Or here comes some Scoter, and it takes them 45 seconds, when I first see them, so they finally are over the decoys. And it's just, I don't know, there's something about somebody watching from a distance like that, they get mesmerized, and you see the shot on the water and they're just like behind, and, but at the same time, that bird that just shows up out of the blue and you weren't really watching it, boom, and he rolls it right out, kind of thing. So it's just hard to practice shooting for sea ducks, I think.
Yeah.
So do you do any puddle duck hunting, or is this strictly sea ducks and divers?
Yeah, I mean, we will see a puddle duck or two if the season's open. Obviously, it's fair game, but I'm not.
Yeah.
If you called me up saying, "Hey, Jeff, I want to shoot black ducks or mallards," I'll tell you, I'm not the guy. I'll give you somebody else's name.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's really all I had. I think the only thing is, so I know we do get a lot of listeners that are service members and then first responders and stuff. And I know you have a couple of military hospitals around you. If that's anybody, and not just service members or first responders, just anybody, if they want to get a hold of your guide service there in Maryland, where would they go and how would they find you?
Oh, I'm easily found online. So if you just Google Jeff Coates, COATS, all kinds of stuff, YouTube, all that stuff pops up. But the official webpage is PitBoss, PitBoss waterfowl.com.
Okay, and then you also have a social media, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so everything social media is PitBoss Waterfowl. Instagram,
Okay.
At PitBoss Waterfowl. Facebook. Pretty much everything I do is just revolves around that. But
yeah,
on my Instagram account, I show a lot of Karen and I love to eat. She's my wife. We do a lot of grilling, a lot of smoking ribs and pork butts, and I show a lot of cooking on there too.
Nice. I gotta check that out. I'm a big smoker myself, but
there you go.
Joe, do you have anything before we go?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think this was a really good one. I really appreciate you coming on the show. For the listeners out there, check them out if you're in Maryland. Also, my cousin Tino, check them out. You're in that area, you go get some hunting down with them. Anybody, and like always, I want to thank Valor and Honor Outdoors for what they do for our service members and first responders. Everybody who has supported us now from here on and in the past. And then don't forget to hit the subscribe button on all our podcast platforms. Like always, y'all have a good one and let Valor not fail.